Sometimes, it's nice to just sit back, relax, and take life one slow step at a time. Imagine a world where not just people but even evolution itself embraced this philosophy. What if the natural process of adaptation and extinction moved at an unhurried pace, allowing certain prehistoric creatures to linger far beyond their expected time? What if one of the slowest, most fascinating creatures from the past, the giant sloth, never disappeared and was still part of our modern world? Giant sloths, despite their name, shared many traits with their smaller, modern-day relatives. They were slow-moving, gentle, and had an oddly endearing charm that made them stand out among prehistoric giants. But there was one key difference: size. And not just a little bigger, but monstrously bigger. The largest species of these sluggish behemoths, known as Megatherium, could reach towering heights of up to 7 meters, 23 feet, when standing on their hind legs, and they could weigh a staggering 6,300 kilograms, 7 tons. Just to put that into perspective, that's heavier than a modern-day African elephant. These massive creatures roamed the forests and grasslands of South America, dominating the prehistoric landscape for millions of years. Their story, however, came to an abrupt halt around 11,000 years ago during the Ice Age, when they, like many other megafauna, succumbed to a mix of climate change and human hunting. But what if things had gone differently? What if they had survived to the present day? If giant sloths still roamed the earth today, they would likely inhabit dense forests or vast, bushy plains in both North and South America, much like their ancient stomping grounds. These forests would essentially serve as their never-ending buffet. As dedicated herbivores, their diet consisted mainly of leaves, fruits, and other plant matter. With their enormous size and unique adaptations, such as thick, curved claws and a giraffe-like tongue, they had no trouble reaching high branches to munch on their favorite vegetation. Given their slow metabolism and massive body size, they would have needed to consume an astonishing 60,000 calories per day, comparable to the daily dietary intake of a full-grown elephant. The sheer amount of food required to sustain them means that forests today would have to be vast enough to accommodate their enormous appetites. While life for giant sloths in the modern world would remain mostly peaceful, what about us? How would humans interact with these towering titans of the animal kingdom? Knowing our tendency to domesticate and utilize large animals for labor and companionship, it wouldn't be far-fetched to imagine that we might attempt to make these gentle giants part of our workforce. Imagine trying to use a giant sloth for transportation. Sounds like a fun idea until you realize that their top speed is just a slow crawl. If you thought traffic was bad before, imagine a city full of sloth-riding commuters moving at a pace so slow that pedestrians could overtake them with ease. Not exactly the ideal mode of transport if you're in a hurry, but maybe we'd find other ways to put them to work. Given their sheer strength and size, they might be used on farms, assisting with tasks such as plowing fields or carrying heavy loads. However, their infamously sluggish nature could make them the least efficient labor animals in history. Picture a farmer dangling a carrot in front of a giant sloth's face, hoping it might pick up the pace, only to be met with a slow, indifferent blink. The reality is that while they were strong, they weren't built for speed, meaning their usefulness in labor-intensive industries would likely be limited. Still, that doesn't mean they wouldn't have a valuable role in our ecosystem. One of their most significant contributions would likely be tied to their diet, specifically, their love of avocados. Yes, you heard that right. These ancient creatures had an insatiable appetite for avocados, consuming up to 200 of them per day. In fact, it's believed that they played a crucial role in avocado seed dispersal, as their massive size allowed them to ingest and transport large seeds over great distances. If 80,000 giant sloths were still roaming the planet today, they would consume as many avocados annually as the entire population of the United States. Imagine the economic impact of having an army of sloths fueling the global avocado industry. But their role in agriculture could go even further. Have you ever heard of Kopi Luwak, the world's most expensive coffee? This delicacy is made by civet cats consuming coffee cherries and then, passing the beans through their digestive system. The process alters the beans' chemical composition, supposedly enhancing the flavor of the coffee. Now, imagine applying a similar process to avocado seeds. Could sloth-processed avocados become the next culinary delicacy? A luxury food item that commands an outrageous price due to the unique way in which it's cultivated? Picture high-end restaurants serving gourmet guacamole made exclusively from avocados that have passed through the digestive tracts of these massive creatures. It's a bizarre thought, but given the trends in luxury food items, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. And let's not forget the potential for a natural fertilizer business. After all, what goes in must come out, and with creatures of this size, that's a whole lot of, well, organic material to work with. Beyond their agricultural impact, they might also hold cultural significance. In ancient times, many civilizations revered large and powerful creatures, often incorporating them into mythology and folklore. If giant sloths were still around today, they could become symbols of patience, resilience, or even environmental conservation. Perhaps countries with large populations of these animals would create sanctuaries to protect them, drawing tourists eager to catch a glimpse of these slow-moving marvels in their natural habitat. The sight of a 7-meter-tall sloth lazily reaching for leaves high above the forest canopy would undoubtedly be an awe-inspiring experience. But alas, this is all just a fascinating daydream. The reality is that giant sloths are long gone, confined to the pages of history and the fossil records we uncover. Unless we take drastic measures, such as pioneering cutting-edge genetic experiments to bring them back, these prehistoric marvels will remain extinct. But that idea isn't as far-fetched as it may seem. With advancements in cloning and genetic engineering, scientists have already begun discussing the possibility of resurrecting extinct species. Could giant sloths be next in line for a second chance at life? The idea of de-extinction raises a host of ethical and ecological questions, but if we ever do bring back these slow-moving behemoths, one thing is certain: we'd better have plenty of avocados ready. But that's a story for another time. For now, we can only wonder,